Good afternoon, guys. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm an immigration attorney from New York. So thank you very much for joining my stream. Please make sure to share it so more people are going to join us. Let me also know, please, if you can hear me, which is very important. At some point, a couple months ago, I had a stream where nobody could hear me. Yeah. So say hello. Please comment, and don't forget to send stars. Stars is the preferred currency of Facebook watchers. So thank you very much again for joining. Don't forget to let me know where you're watching from. Say hello. We're going to discuss the most recent immigration news. What's happening in immigration system, immigration situation in the United States, and we are going to thank you, Sabrina, and we're going to talk about asylum cases. Why asylum? Well, because somehow asylum became the cornerstone of the United States immigration system. And whenever we discuss immigration reform, whenever anyone discusses immigration reform in the United States, they always go back to asylum and border. And today we're going to precisely start our stream with a situation at the border. Well, or perhaps situation in our courts. Just today, United States Supreme Court stated that Title 42 will not be lifted yet. If you've been watching immigration news, if you've been following the issue, Title 42 is the law that was used for the first time by Trump administration during the pandemic, and it was designed to stop migrants at the border due to the threat of coronavirus spread. And you can ask yourself, why almost 3 years later we're still talking about Title 42? Well, because someone at the border really liked this way and found it to be an effective way to prevent certain migrants, not all of them, but certain migrants, from coming to the United States. And this is the problem that I have with Title 42. I totally perhaps understood why it was implemented to begin with, even though I would not agree with it. But what I've noticed, and many other immigration lawyers noticed, and not only lawyers, but advocates for rights of the people, is that Title 42 has been used not equally against different migrants. Migrants from preferred regions, from preferred countries, were given exceptions in the form of parole, while certain migrants were not. You all remember what happened with migrants from Haiti. If you recall, there were scandals involved the treatment of migrants from Haiti, how they were treated inhumane at the border, and at the same time, migrants from certain former Soviet Union countries, such as Ukraine, such as Russia, we all saw had a very different treatment. And I'm not against migrants from any countries, but it just shows how Title 42 allowed the government officials to be selective when they're controlling the situation at the border. Because in my understanding, and understanding perhaps of many other people, all laws should be applied to all people equally. And that's my problem with Title 42. So as immigrant myself, as an immigration attorney, of course, I would love Title 42 to be ended at the border. There are other effective means as to how to control the situation at the border, but many states disagreed. And when Biden administration took over the old policy and decided to stop Title 42, they stated that they will end it. They could not do it because the other forces intervened and the lawsuits started, and as a result of federal litigation, even though Biden administration wanted to stop Title 42 from being implemented at the border, we still continue with this tool rather being used. It's frustrating. Perhaps it shows how rigid the United States immigration system really is. Any little change takes months from to years to be implemented and changed. So this is something that is being discussed right now in the news. If you put in Google immigration news, the first thing that you're going to see is the news about Title 42. So as of now, Title 42 is going to stay in place until the oral arguments are heard on the issue, and it's going to be sometime in February of 2023. Does it mean that nobody can come to the United States? Of course, no, it does not mean that. As I stated, many group of migrants from preferred countries are allowed to come to the United States. They are issued paroles at the border, which allows them, by the way, to apply for work permits right away without the need of filing for asylum first and waiting for 180 days. But only one thing is, when you're paroled for 1 year and it takes 7 to 8 months for the work permit to be processed, that right to file for the work permit becomes meaningless. So currently, the situation at the border and the way the border is being handled is very, very difficult. It's very, very stressful. People do not know if they will be paroled, if they will be sent back, and Title 42 will be invoked against them, or they will be detained. Different procedures can be applied to the person who is trying to cross the border or come to the United States, seek asylum. Again, some people can be paroled without detention. Some people may be detained and placed into a new proceedings where your credible fear interview also serves as your asylum application. And some people can be subjected to expedited removal proceedings where you are detained and you're waiting for your credible fear interview. And only if you pass your credible fear interview, you will be released and placed in the regular removal proceedings, which will allow you to seek asylum in the United States. So this is how this whole thing, Title 42 litigation situation at the border, is tied up with asylum in the United States and your ability to seek asylum in the United States. And by the way, currently, according to, I believe, CNN, the number of asylum cases pending with USCIS is outrageous. It's 1.6 million cases compared to 100,000 cases that were pending in 2012. In 10 years, the backlog grew 10 times. So will Title 42 help this issue? I'm not convinced. You tell me what you think. Will this law that's selectively being used against certain group of migrants is going to resolve the USCIS asylum backlog? I don't think so. But you may disagree with me, and maybe you have a better way to solve US system asylum crisis. Tell me. So this is the main news that I wanted to discuss with you and share. And as far as asylum goes, I know that USCIS is working on resolving the backlog. They announced several months ago that they will be hiring officers that will be working just on asylum backlog cases. But the number of officers they will be hiring, I believe, was no more than 200 officers. When 200 officers are facing 1.6 million cases, how long do you think it's going to take them to resolve that backlog? Well, I think it's going to take them some time. This is probably going to answer your question as to how long your asylum case may continue to be pending. I would say that cases that were filed in 2015, 2016 currently are slowly started being called for the interview. But facing all this news that I just discussed, I'm not really sure how long it's going to take you guys to be called for the interview if your case was filed in 2016. Hopefully within another year, but maybe even longer. And now, guys, I see we have a good amount of people joining us. I'm going to answer some of you guys' questions. Hi, Saints. Hi, Sid. Hi, Elvia. You are welcome. Hi, Ibrahim from Singapore. Hi, RT. Hi, Hi. Watching from New York. Yay. Hi, Saints. What can happen if a deported re-enter illegally? How may he can get legal status? Well, guys, usually if a person is deported and re-enters the United States without authorization, such a person is going to be subject to something called permanent bar in most cases, unless a person would, for example, qualify for a U visa or will be able to successfully reopen their prior removal case. So, in most cases, I would say in the vast majority of cases, such a person is going to have a very hard time fixing their immigration status. But again, there are some very narrow exceptions. And guess what? Some people will qualify for them. Again, such as U visa, for example. Hi, Soul. Hello, ma'am. Hope you're doing well. How long does motion to change venue take to California from Dallas? It's been 6 months. Whoa, listen, 6 months is a little bit too long. I would strongly suggest that your lawyer or whoever filed that motion follow ups with the court. I think that the court just lost track of it. I'll be honest. Usually, motions to change venue do not take more than 60 days to be decided. Usually, judges are very happy to move your case to a different court that is going to deal with your case. Hi, Baba. How long does a BIA motion to reopen take? A long time. It's going to take a long time. Maybe I just had a different experience because my last motion with BIA was filed during the time of pandemic, but it took us about 2 years. So it may take a long time. Don't be surprised. Hi, Ali. We ask for prosecutorial discretion, submit package to government attorney asking them to agree granting me asylum. My case in BIA, 3 months waiting, no response. What do you think? Hey, Ali, so you asked for something called stipulation. You asked the government to stipulate that you are going to receive asylum. It's very rare that the government is going to stipulate to relief. I'll be honest, in my practice, I have never ever seen that, even though it's possible. And I have seen some lawyers sharing information that they were successful in entering into stipulation with the government as to a client's eligibility for certain relief. But in my experience, even that happens, the judge still has to grant you relief. So what's going to happen is, well, first, obviously, your lawyer should follow up with the government lawyer and find out where they're standing with the offer that you made. You offered them to agree that you qualify for asylum. Are they agreeing? Then they're not agreeing. Perhaps they can stipulate at least to certain parts of qualifications for asylum, such as, for example, that you did not miss your 1 year deadline, or that should be restored, or exception should be granted rather to you, or perhaps that you suffered the past persecution, something like that, right? And if everybody agrees, then both parties are going to submit stipulation to the Board of Immigration Appeals at this point, asking for the case to be remanded or whatever that your attorney is going to be asking. That's how it works. The judge still has to rule on the relief. Hi, Pascal. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and more immigration cases wins 2023. Thank you very much. I surely hope so. I surely hope so. We are seeing, good positive changes in USCIS and immigration courts related to prosecutorial discretion, related to different changes that the Biden administration is really, really trying to implement. But as I said, even a small change takes months. For example, new public charge rule, which should solidify easier way for the citizens and green card holders to sponsor their family members, took months and was subject to litigation, if you recall. Or maybe you are aware, maybe not, now you will, that USCIS is working on changing naturalization test to make it easier to pass, from what I understand, and they're going to have trials to see if there are innovations and new things that they're offering for the green card holders to consider as a part of the test are going to work easier, and more people will be able to pass the test. So little things here and there, of course, help to win cases as well. And of course, the attorney's experience and maybe some luck sometimes, I would say so. Hi, David. Is it so difficult for being in such an unclear situation while applied in 2016 and still waiting for the first interview? It's terrible. I would absolutely agree with you. That is absolutely stressful and very, very difficult. And whenever I take an asylum case, I make sure to tell people that asylum is no joke. It's a serious process. You may be stuck in it for years. You may be separated with your family for years. You will not be able to travel, and it's not easy to win. The good news is this: while you're still waiting for the interview, at least in theory, you qualify for advance parole. And if you have a good reason, you should ask for the advance parole and maybe see your family members in a third country, maybe get the treatment that something to relieve the stress that you need. Because if a person is placed in removal proceedings, if they did not win their case at the interview, they will not have an opportunity to travel anymore. So this is one of the benefits, if you call it. I don't know if it's a benefit at all, but this is one of the pluses of being stuck in affirmative asylum process. And of course, I always tell clients, use this opportunity to prepare. You're reading something about your country, something that can be relevant for your case. Save that article, email it to yourself so that you can share it with your attorney. Maybe find an expert on country conditions. Make sure that you have the strongest case possible, especially if your case is pending for such a long time. Because of course, country conditions can change, right? Many different things can change. Your personal situation can change. Hi, Ivanka. Hi, Alena. I think nothing is going to change for the next 2 years. Well, I think something will change. I'm not sure when, but when there will be an extraordinary need for votes, something is going to change. They've been talking about immigration reform for DACA recipients, and we're talking about people who are in 40s now. The persons who were qualifying for DACA back 10 years ago when it first started now are in their 40s, early 40s, right? So these are the people usually, I think, who are the most active in terms of voting. And I think both sides understand that. Hi, Polygon. Is there any way to expedite TPS? You can always request that the application that you filed is expedited with USCIS following their guidelines. Why not? You can find expedite guidelines on USCIS website, uscis.gov, and try it. I've noticed that TPS for certain countries, again, is being considered faster than for some other countries. It's upsetting. Hi, Adnan. Hello, I want to come to the United States from UAE in work permit. How to apply? This is one of the most frequent questions I receive. How to come to the United States to work? In absolute majority of cases, guys, the only way for you to come to the United States to work would be if you first find an employer and that employer sponsors you. Okay, it either can be an H-1B visa or EB-2, EB-3 application, permanent visa rather than temporary visa, work visa, but you will have to find an employer. Hi, Sanita. What happens if you're asylum pending with USCIS but you're qualified for EB3? And while running EB3, you get asylum interview date. Whoa, so EB3 is just a petition, right? Petition that is going to allow you to either adjust status, or if you cannot adjust status, file for an immigrant visa overseas. In most cases of people with asylum pending applications, filing for an immigrant visa overseas will be the safer route to go rather than trying to fight for adjustment of status in most cases. Now, most people will have a hard time adjusting their status based on an employment petition if they have asylum case pending. And if you're worried that you're called for an asylum interview, but you believe you have a chance of adjusting status based on EB3, and you're worried that you're going to appear for the interview, you will not pass the interview, and the government is going to place you in removal proceedings. Well, guess what? In removal proceedings, if you were adjustable before the interview, you will most likely be able to renew your adjustment of status application. So I think the interview is not going to be a changing or breaking point here. The breaking or changing point here is whether you can file for adjustment of status or not. And this is something that needs to be discussed with your attorney. And you need to know whether or not it's possible to adjust, because some courts, rather to say, in some areas of the United States, some states, USCIS takes a position that if you meet certain qualifications, you will be able to adjust. If you had asylum status pending, and now you have EB2, EB3 petitions. But in some states, they say that asylum pending is not going to save you, and you're not going to be excused for failure to maintain lawful non-immigrant status throughout your stay in the United States. So you need to know the risks, I would say, before you're going to invest into the process. Hi, St. Paul. My sister, who is a US citizen, filed I-130 6 years ago, and I have to wait 9 more years. If my sister filed I-130 for my mom, and mom gets a green card for 1 year and a half and file for me for F2B. All right, so when the sibling is sponsoring a sibling, you're going to end up in the F4 category. If your mom is sponsoring you, you will not be able to use your sister's petition's date to transfer to your mother's petition. It doesn't work like that. Each petition will have its own priority date and its own starting point. So if your sister filed 6 years ago and you have to wait for 9 more years, altogether is 15 years wait time. You say, if your mom is going to file for you when she gets a green card, and provided that you're unmarried, because green card holders cannot sponsor married sons or daughters, your time to wait based on mom's petition is going to start when her petition is filed. It's not going to be transferred from your sister's petition. All right, so she should absolutely file for you, your mom, as long as you're unmarried. And sister's petition is going to have its own route, and your mom's petition its own route. That's how it's going to work. I'm sorry you have to wait for that long. That's another problem in the United States immigration laws, that if you would like to sponsor some of your family members, the wait times can be just outrageous, like literally all your life, especially if you are from the Philippines. They have the worst backlog in the family-related immigration ever, guys. It's like decades. You have to wait for decades to sponsor your family members. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for sharing the stream. Thank you for joining me today. I promise you next week I will be here if everything's going to be good with me, and perhaps even before that to wish you Happy New Year. And please Keep commenting on the streams. I will try my best to answer your questions. Of course, I'm only one human being, but I am trying. Don't forget that you can find answers to a lot of your questions on our website, www.shautsova.com. You can see it here at the bottom of this video. There is like this running line. And I wish you a Happy New Year if I don't see you prior to December 31st, January 1st. Again, thank you for joining. I have the best family on social media, the best friends on social media, and I hope to see you.